Green Bay is a small town, only 100,000 people. Those 100,000 people may be different in many ways, but there's one thing that brings them all together: the Green Bay Packers. In Titletown, the blue-collar city only knows hard work, tailgating, championships, but more importantly, they know family.
We have a saying in this town: faith, family, and the Green Bay Packers are all that you need. Sanjay and I grew up in Green Bay. You could say that we are Green Bay, or even better, the voices of Green Bay. We bring a local feel of Packer fandom to a worldwide audience.
Friendship, family, and football.
Ladies and gentlemen,
This is the Freezer Podcast. All right, we are back. This is the Freezer Podcast, where we bring you a local feel of Packer fandom to a worldwide audience. I'm Sanjay, and alongside me, like always, is Fred and Matt. Fred is a little indisposed at the moment. May have had a little spill on the old desk, so he is cleaning up after himself right now. So he will join us in a few minutes here. But Matt and I will take you right away into your first, maybe your first official coverage of the weekend, I guess. So hopefully you guys can take a nice hour of your time with us and enjoy some draft coverage that happened, obviously, in the NFL draft this week. So, Matt, obviously, the draft is, in the last 30 years or so, has obviously, boomed into this spectacle that we'll try to grab as much money as we can kind of thing NFL has seen for each separate day and make this a thing, like an all day thing or all evening thing. And it's worked. You've had, probably record highs on viewership every single year. And you clearly see why people are so, enamored by just guys getting selected from a college just to go to a team. Back in the day, it was just a quick phone call. Okay, you hear about it next week. You're like, all right, these are the guys you get. There was no kind of media about it. So it has come a long way. It is a fun time of the year. You and I usually watch the draft together. This year we did not, but it's a time where we just feel like, hey, we may not watch a lot of college football, as far as week to week basis, know all these guys. But when it gets to this March and April timeframe, okay, now we're getting into the groove. We got free agency out of the way. Now it's just trying to see plug and play. For the longest time, we were just seeing, okay, what kind of pieces can we help Rodgers with to get us that, get us over the hump. It is a whole different aspect this time around. So it was interesting going into this draft to see hey, you know what? I'm just going to kick back. I'm going to put my feet up. I'm just going to enjoy what, there is to offer and just see how this team can get better. Your thoughts on the overall weekend? How did you enjoy it? And what did you do?
Well, it's one of my favorite weekends of the year. And the first round is one of my favorite nights of the year. Normally you and I are together, but it was my mother's birthday. So I was with them for a while. But, next year, I think, the three of us will have to
absolutely
make sure we're doing a thing for it.
And Papa Jensen.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll drag him out. For me, the draft is the unofficial start of the new football season. I know there's the, new league year in March and you got free agency, all that fun stuff. But for me, really, it's the draft. So you go through free agency, got your guys. Now you're 2 months of reading, mock drafts and analysis from everybody, breaking down all the positions from the combine and whatnot. So to see it all come together at the end of it is so exciting. The anticipation for your first pick, and even really honestly, I was thinking to myself, sometimes that second day, rounds 2 and 3 are almost sneakily better than round 1, because round 1's a lot of what's going to happen.
And there's only one pick, right?
Yeah, it's one pick, and really, in the fun part is all the trades that are happening now. That never happened when we were young. All this moving around is kind of new in the last 10 years or so. So that's kind of fun to watch. But linking it to the Packers, man, this is a different year for all of us kind of going into it. Normally, like you said, it's well, what are we going to do to, complete this team that's almost, fully formed. We need a guy here or a guy there, or, who are we going to give for Rodgers to make him happy, whatever. And that's not the case this year. I kind of felt like the main theme was going to be, and LaFleur said it a lot, is a process or a refresh, people are calling it. 13 new guys coming onto the team is a ton. I mean, I've heard several comments from around the sporting universe of how many players the Packers picked, and we'll get into it and why they liked him. But I think this is a really exciting weekend for Packer fans and for the Packers in general, not just adding a lot of guys, but I think kind of reinvigorating the fan base, bringing in some pass catchers, getting some guys that people are excited about. I mean, it feels like people are ready now, and I think the ball is rolling.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting to see where, like, this was a big draft for Brian Gutekunst, right? This is the draft after Aaron Rodgers. This is Matt LaFleur's, time to put his image into this roster, into his system, into his philosophy, into his culture, right? Obviously, yes. Did Aaron Rodgers maybe buy in the first couple of years? Probably. And maybe the last, two, maybe it was kind of little, But
yeah, we'll see.
Well, this was a big moment for those two gentlemen, because now this is the era of Jordan Love. This is the era of making your mark as, GM, as head coach, because this is what you're going to be known as, right? You're the guy that traded Aaron Rodgers. You're the guy that drafted Jordan Love. This is your roster that you've done primarily a good job, especially in the first and second rounds. I think you had a better draft last year. I think the year before was pretty dog crap, knowing that you don't really have anybody left on that.
There he is.
Class. Welcome back, Fred. Are we all cleaned up over here?
Yeah, classic moment. I was gonna switch the battery on the camera and decided to shatter the beer all over my desk. So that was.
I hope it's all good.
I hope there's nothing on that back of your laptop cover over there, just so you know.
No, yeah, it's a little something. No
okay. Just want to make sure. All right. Well, he's all cleaned up. Fred, we were just getting over, or not getting over. We were just talking about our experience, obviously our love for the draft, what we kind of did over the weekend. Why don't you just go ahead and talk about your weekend and what the draft means to you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I say this every year. I'm not going to stop saying it. I probably will grow old saying this. It's my favorite weekend of the year. I love the draft. I have some of my fondest, best memories of my life are with my Grandpa Fuzzy, my dad, my Uncle Sam, Uncle Mark, at 6, 7, 8 years old, sitting in a bar, watching the draft, watching them get super hyped about it. Right. And being like, why are these old men super pumped about something? And it just started, slowly blossoming into something that I just started paying more attention to. It was almost like, I wanted to get a little bit more ingrained in more knowledge about it so that I could hang out with them more. And, we've seen some great ones. For some reason, Rashawn Salam always is a name that I just never, ever forget. Kajana Carter, these are names as kids that I remember hearing and just being like, those guys got to be so good, man. Now
it's so true, man. So true.
Yeah, now it's like everybody's got a cool name like that. You got guys coming out named Kool-Aid and Kringleberry and whatever else. So
Kringleberry.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the number one
this year was a pretty specific year for intriguing names.
I think next year the number one corner is, I think his name is Kool-Aid. I believe it's something. I'm not kidding you.
Please be true. Please be true.
No, I'm pretty sure. So anyway, look it up. But anyway,
Kool-Aid.
I love it. It's something that's really important to me. It was weird because I didn't talk about this last episode, but it was weird because this was the first year that I don't think I put a ton of time into. Am I right? Right.
Kool-Aid Kinstry.
Told you.
Yeah.
And so, I keep a pretty close eye on everything. This is the one year that I felt a little bit drawn back from it, which was very strange for me. Going into the draft.
Does he look like a goon?
No, he's a Kool-Aid, 100%.
Yeah, but Matt seems like he just saw like a picture of
I read the description of why they call him Kool-Aid.
Yes.
It's his grandmother called him Kool-Aid because she said when he smiled, it reminded him of the Kool-Aid man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I remember reading about him coming out of high school because he was like, I think the number one recruit coming out as a DB, and I think he went to Alabama, right? So so that's always like, it's just, now names are crazy, but no, it's something that really means a lot to me. I love it. I've always really taken a big thing into it. This year was different. I did it. Actually went on a little called Greenhouse Getaway, a thing with our church. So that was super weird to be somewhere else and not be glued in front of a TV. Luckily for me though, boys, tons and tons of draft dudes there. So we were all very much in tune with each other, kind of as we pass each other, be like, hey, you guys grab this guy. Saw you guys are looking at this. Hey, this guy's still available. So it was almost like this little draft guru area there. So that was kind of neat. But no, man, I love it. And, there's nothing better than getting all hyped up, sitting down with the boys. I mean, we went out to Oneida the night. I'm sure you talked about that, Sanjay. And
no, we did.
There's nothing better than getting together with the boys or just staying on point, having ordering a pizza in or getting some chicken wings, drinking a beer, and letting the Packers just break your heart. It's just it's pretty much every April. This is what we do.
Well, let's talk about that heartbreak. Let's get right into it. First round, obviously, Fred and I were together at Oneida Casino. We were there for the spectacle because we were thinking, all right, you're at pick 13. You've just made the trade for Rodgers to get rid of Rodgers. You swapped the first, and now you're a little bit closer, that much closer to get JSN. And well, we set ourselves up for it. He was there. He actually did fall. I don't know how many times we kept just basically giggling next to each other that, oh my God, they did take him. And then he just keeps dropping and dropping. And then there it is right there at pick 13. We're just sitting there for 4 minutes just thinking, all right, well, here it is. Here are your options. There's not even Paris Johnson Jr. to, say, oh, well, there's that guy they could have taken. So we thought maybe everything could have been playing correctly for the Packers for him to take him, but they didn't, obviously. So they went with Lucas Van Ness. I basically, or as people are already calling him, the Loch Ness Monster. So that's kind of a cool little nickname that they're going to start for him. Maybe it may not stick, but if he is a monster, I will call him that. Fred, your thoughts on Edge?
At least you won't call him a one-eyed monster like you did a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I was just watching it there.
Oh my God. Gotta find that clip again.
I got it. I got it.
Please send it to me.
That was wow. All right. So,
and props to Matt. Remember how good Matt just kept it so clean and cool. Like delivered it like like straight out of like ABC News. Like he had just heard like the president was shot, but he just kept delivering the news.
I was just like, gotta get this out.
So wild. Yeah, that was
don't melt down. Don't melt down.
Yeah, you were on point, man.
So, Fred, your thoughts on Edge first in the first round? Obviously, freak of a kind of athlete, scored really well at the combine. Your thoughts on Mr. Van Ness?
Yeah, so I mean, it was not what I wanted, right? Like I don't think it was really what a lot of us were really hyped up about. So that kind of stinks. I think we get ourselves a little mixed up. We feel like we want to, we get locked in on receiver, right? We get locked in on some position, and we're pretty into it. Might want to put some earmuffs on Big Iowa Joe here, but I just feeling like like an edge guy like that coming out of Iowa, it just felt like wah, wah, wah. Like it just didn't get me hyped up.
Oh, yeah, he's from Iowa.
Yeah, like
so
here we go again. Yeah, like it just give me an offensive lineman from Iowa. 100.
Yeah, absolutely, or tight end from Iowa.
Tight end, yeah, but it just felt a little weird. So that was my initial gut reaction. I think after spending some time, obviously then we dive into things, we start to learn things. It's looking like it's a very Rashawn Gary-esque type pick, right? A freak of nature, a guy who maybe didn't get the full amount of playing time, where in Gary's situation it was getting triple teamed. So maybe there's something they see there in a progress standpoint, right? I don't know if he comes out this year and he's going to be a JJ Watt necessarily, but maybe they're thinking in their minds, this is a guy who we can grow with Gary for the next 10 years. We have edge dominance, 2 freak athletes. Yeah, well, guess who also controls your paycheck, Iowa Joe? So, no, just kidding.
Round and round we go.
Oh, hang on.
So no, but I mean, it's one of those things. Like I'm not super excited about it, but I'm really excited to maybe be pleasantly surprised by his ability. Right? We've seen it happen a million times. Obviously the body is insane. The family is insane. He's a multi-sport athlete. He clearly seems like a good football player. I want to think like, give me that Agent Hutchinson type thing going with him. Like. He clearly got in and started doing something. So I don't know. I'm not down and out on it, but I'm not gonna go buy a jersey, if that makes sense.
Oh,
that's fair.
Hey, just before you go, Matt, just something new for us this year. We are gonna go over our draft selections, obviously, but we are also in between that gonna pick one guy that we think is our guy that we're going to travel with him regardless of what happens from now and 4 years from now, or if it's 2 years, maybe it's only a year, maybe they only last a year. I don't know. We'll see. But we are picking one guy out of this draft class that we think will make it to his second contract, and that is our guy. So, Fred, is this your guy?
To get the second contract?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm saying
he's going to.
Well,
I mean, yeah, like he's probably going. I mean, I would think he probably
don't know that,
will, but I'm not gonna pick him as my guy. No, that's
okay,
not.
he's not your guy. All right, Matt.
But I do think, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so first round pick. Obviously, you guys know I was Team JSN all day long.
We know.
4 months. 4 months.
We have to check your pulse.
But all day long, you guys can attest to it. I spent the entire day of the first round talking myself out of it. Just basically going, it's not going to happen. There's no way he's going to be there. They're still not going to take him. Moments before the draft, Sanjay's texting me, what's your pulse, dude? Do you need, CPR? Are you doing okay? I'm like, no, they're not going to draft him. It's going to be fine. We're all going to be okay. And that's exactly what happened. They drafted him. So thankfully, I wasn't really just like hanging on.
Lying,
I mean, legitimately, I was like,
crying. Carol was comforting him, trying to tell him it's okay, holding his hair back a little bit. That's what
I've come to the realization. Listen, the Packers are a very, very principled organization. They don't stray from what they do. They do what they do, and frankly, they've done it well for a long time. And so, in that light, like I can't blame them. But that said, like, damn, did I want JSN in the worst way? It stung a little bit watching him put the Seahawks hat on and walking down to the stage. That said, I was like Fred initially when they announced the pick. I was like, oh, okay, I guess, But the more I think about it, I like the long-term potential. 2023 is going to be whatever. We're probably not going to see Gary for a half the year or something of the sort. And I think it's going to be a learning year. But to me, this is like 2024, 2025. That could be the best pass rush duo in the league. And not because they're speedy and they can run around you, they're just going to blow through you. They're going to run right through you, knock you on your ass, and they're going to do a Leroy Butler you into the quarterback and do a double sack. I'm about that, but it's going to obviously take some development. It's going to take some coaching. Obviously, he's a freak athlete. His RAS score is like every other Packer player that they take.
Bosa.
Great, yeah. I mean, were they saying like his times were rivaling like receiver times in their own categories? Yeah. I mean, he had crazy measurables.
4 or 5 speed or something like that.
Yeah, so you can see why the Packers like him. And if they can get what they believe is going to get out of him, like I think that long term we're looking at a pretty good, formidable duo. But it's got to be seen. I got to see it first, but I acknowledge the potential.
I think that was a big need, right? You have literally Preston Smith, and then you got dudes. Enikbare had a really nice little rookie year. I think he obviously has growth, and hopefully he can take that year 2 leap. Jonathan Garvin, I mean, okay. And then you probably have some practice squad guys that are going to be on the roster because of depth reasons. But then that was it. That was literally all you had at edge. Obviously Gary, but we don't know his timetable. Obviously we'd love to have him back by like week 8, but you don't know. Maybe he's a freak athlete, comes back earlier, but maybe he comes back later. We've seen this ACL turn into different things for different players, but
big time. That's the truth. That's a good call because he is like, I mean, he's kind of freaky, right? Like his body type is everything like that. I mean, it wouldn't shock me for it to be a quicker recovery.
He feels like he's going to be more Adrian Peterson, David Bakhtiar on the timeline.
Absolutely,
of the ACL.
But the fact that always still remains with that is that even if they become 100% for their body, it always still seems to take like 6-7 weeks for them to like get back into like where they were, kind of, if you will. So
and
like,
at that position, you need all your power and speed.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the great thing about him is he's such a hard worker. I mean, we see all the videos. We know that he grinds regardless of what time of the year it is. So I do feel like he will put himself in the best position to get back. I hope he doesn't rush it because I know he got that motor and that tank and that heart that he just wants to get out there. I hope that, I'm sure the medical staff of the Packers knows how to like really put guys in check, but you know how players get, they want to get that, angst and that, that want to be out there, which is great coming from, a player for a fan, but hopefully he comes back at the right timetable and he can get back into the swing of things, sooner than later. But let's move to the second round. This is definitely where we thought the Packers would make their money, I guess, as far as like their like big time selections, because we didn't see offense in the first round. Shocker. But they come back and do it in the second round with, some pretty big picks here that I think we'll see, where it, comes out to. But let's start out with the first one. We'll start at 42 and tight end Matt. It wasn't receiver right away, but it was a pass catcher. Luke Musgrave, out of Oregon State, sorry. And this guy has a lot of abilities. Your thoughts right away on Mr. Luke?
I'm really excited about this pick, and I was fine that it wasn't a receiver. I think actually that run on receivers in the mid-20s in the first round, and again, kind of in the beginning of the second round, sort of like, okay, whatever, grab the tight end. So I like him. Speedy, looks like going to be more of a vertical threat. I think they said maybe a little bit unpolished, but he obviously has a lot of athleticism and room to grow. I think, we'll talk about the other guy they picked, but pairing two of them together to kind of come up and kind of be this 1-2 combo is going to be super interesting to kind of follow as we go. What has me most excited about the Musgrave pick is now that Aaron Rodgers is gone, like the middle of the field's open for business again. So like having these guys hopefully eat in the middle of the field. I've been begging for it for what feels like 5 or 6 years. Like, man, like let's get that open for action again. So this felt like Matt LaFleur finally getting some toys to play with, and we might finally see some iteration of the offense he wants to run. I'm just thinking about 2 tight end sets, maybe you put DeGuara in the backfield with Aaron Jones. You can get pretty crazy with it. So I'm excited about this pick, guys, and I can't wait to kind of get him on the field, even rookie OTAs, to see him in the pads and run around. Well, not pads, but shells, but in the Packer uniform.
I mean, I loved it. I
know Fred loved it. That was your guy. That's your boy.
I've been preaching his name for a little while here, and that was somebody that when we got to that point, I was super hyped. Just a ton of vertical athletic ability, right? Like somebody that we absolutely have always talked about since Jay Finns, right? The guy that can kind of split the seam, can kind of run these routes, will be an absolute nightmare for most linebackers, and will be able to overpower most safeties. So, I mean, we're really in that kind of perfect spot. I think had he not had an injury, clear number 1 tight end. I don't think there's even a question behind that. He was just on the trajectory to be the best, if not the best, in that entire class. So I love it. I think it's super exciting. I think I'm pumped to see, it kind of comes down to, and it's so weird because I know Jordan Love's not a rookie, right? But he kind of feel like he is. So yeah. I'm really excited to see him be able to grow with some of these guys, right? You got your tight end that you can run around with both, T-Craft and Musgrave. You got some young receivers. So you're really going to get to grow with these guys, which was kind of where like Aaron was when he kind of came in. He didn't have a whole lot of real veteran. I mean, he had DD, but like, everybody else was a couple years in. They weren't crazy like 7, 8, 9, 10 years in. And I just think it's important for their chemistry to kind of have this like little squad of like, hey, these are my boys. We go out together, we drink together, we party together, we play football together, whatever. I don't know. They probably don't drink and party, but I'm thinking these guys.
I got that vibe though. They somebody asked Goody and LaFleur that kind of question, like, hey, like you got this nucleus of kids, not kids, but guys that are 23, 24, 22, all coming into the league around the same, year 3 span and growing together. Like, what's that going to do for camaraderie in the team? And I think about like some of those really tight-knit Packer teams that were winning championships. And like a lot of those guys were in the same cohort group, where they came in the draft together or they were coming up in the Packers system together. And like, as time went on, you had a little bit less of that. So this is, part of it that's exciting for me is watching this new wave of guys come in and grow together.
Well, a lot of them played together in, different 7-on-7 leagues, a lot of different, youth developmental leagues growing up. I mean, so they like know each other. They played against each other. They played with each other. I just think it's like, to me, I just feel like it's kind of a cool little thing to see what could possibly be. And like you said too, I mean, opening up that middle of the field, and that J Love is going to go to everybody, right? It's not going to be 2 guys. Like, he has now multiple options, and then running that LaFleur offense. I can't wait to just see the kind of craziness he can come up with, because he now has some really interesting athletes that I think can be put in a lot of different positions. And I think that's going to be cool. The one knock on it. No, I was just going to say the one knock on it is just that he, just doesn't have he's not a blocker, right? He's not going to be your blocking tight end. It's going to be hard to bring him in and put him on the line. He's probably going to be a guy that, moves out, is in the slot, things like that. So sort of, I think what they were probably trying to do with Jace Turdberger, but I think this is going to be a little bit better of a situation.
It feels like, Sanjay, I want you to jump in on this. Like Fred, you said athleticism on offense. Like I feel like they have some horses, some quick guys, some fast agility guys. And usually the Packers offense wasn't necessarily the quickest. It was always, they had receivers that were just tacticians on the route tree, or, had good hands, but they were never speed. Now you have guys that can burn people off the line, whether they're running, a full on sail route or they're coming out of a break. I think like we have some legitimate weapons. Now it's just going to come down to pulling it together and, the final product.
Well, the other thing too, really quickly before you go, Sanjay, sorry, but the other thing I was thinking was, when you have guys like, and you have a DeGuara, you have a Musgrave, you have a couple different receivers, and you have an Aaron Jones, someone who does catch the ball really well out of the backfield, and you start sending guys, right? So now you're sending 5, maybe 6 guys into that secondary. That forces those teams obviously to start playing more, cover 4s and like really awkward, weird defenses where they're like having only put 3 on the line. That opens up J Love's legs. Right now, all of a sudden, he only has 3 rushers, and there's maybe 1 linebacker, but he's in coverage now because he's got to run with Jones. That opens up a whole different ball game of, hey, if we need to, we have a guy that can pick up 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe more.
Yeah, I'm just glad that I don't have to hear Josiah DeGuara out of Fred's mouth for a little bit, because now we have some tight ends in the
No, now he's going to shine.
He's going to have a breakout year coming.
Yeah, now he doesn't have to do it all himself. He's going to be dominant, dude.
I'm excited. I'll keep this quick. Like, I just think it's nice to have that guy that can be in the middle of the field. I think when people see tight ends, they only see Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce, like what they do. And obviously they are unicorns, and they are, and even Kittle. I think there's like this image of a tight end that's what they're supposed to do. And I really hope that Packer fans can understand that, look, it's not going to be probably like that. Maybe we might get shocked 2 years, 3 years down the road, but just understand, like what Matt said, the middle of the field is a wide open canvas. Use it, even if it's for first downs or for like a 10 or 12 yard play. That's all we need. We don't need them breaking for 80. That's why you got Christian Watson. That's why you have, Jaden Reed or, Romeo Doubs, whoever it may be. They have the big playability down the field. These guys can secure everything that's in between it, from the 20 inside the 20s. And that's like what we've been waiting for. And that's what hopefully Jordan Love can do.
It feels like that, like the LaFleur system is like designed, or that whole, Shanahan tree is designed to work the middle of the field, crossers, this and that, confused defenses. Where are they going? And with Aaron Rodgers, he just didn't like all that. So I could be more thrilled to finally see this hopefully happen here.
Well, and that's where, I mean, sorry to do it, Sanjay, but that's where you see, 2 crosses between a Musgrave and say a Reed, and you got Watson running up the sideline, and Jones coming out of the backfield this way, and then DeGuara just slips
on the leaker.
Does he slip on the leaker? He ain't even on that. Unless we're running 12 personnel or 13, like you can't just put him out there. Okay, like he's got to be. You got
to account for him, dude.
All right, well, we'll see. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. All right, but anyway, let's move on to the next pick in the second round. Not controversial, but definitely mixed reviews. A lot of people kind of on the side of it, but then there are the people that are kind of like, dang, you could have got this guy maybe later. Maybe he wasn't worth the second round pick, but you did see trade backs. Saw 2 of them. I'm kind of like, when are you just going to pick, guys? Like
pick forever.
Yeah, he just kept going back and back. Granted, it did get us the players down the road that we'll talk about later, but Jaden Reed, MSU, Michigan State University, wide receiver, was the selection at pick, I believe that's 50. So your thoughts, Fred, on a receiver finally? Hey, there's go. Matt's finally happy. We got a receiver.
Cheers.
Second round receiver. There's a lot of success in the second round by Ted and kind of by Goot, but more so Ted in the wide receiver area. So your thoughts, at least initially, on Jaden Reed?
Well, first and foremost, it's we can never really base on what everybody else says, right? That's something I've learned over the 20, 30 years of watching the draft, man. There's so many people that say he should be going this way, he should be going that way. I have a magazine that I've been buying. I was telling the boys about it before, that I've been buying for 20 some years. and that magazine had all of our receivers in completely different positions. So it's up to really what Goot and his scouting team are at. Yeah. So, but that being said, I mean, again, I felt like I didn't know enough to make a good judgment off the hip, right? I mean, initially it was like, okay, like, yeah, we got a receiver, but like, who's this guy? Like, it's not the ones I know, it's not the ones I see, right?
Right. It's not any of the guys we're talking about.
Such a novice amateur thought process when we're
all saying Hyatt right there.
We all wanted Hyatt. Yeah, we all wanted the names that we knew about, right? And that's a common mistake amongst most of us as the draft goes on. We like, triggering on about 12 different guys.
Glom onto certain names. I didn't know.
Yeah, we grab a.
Why do I even do research? I don't even know why I do research.
I don't
just
either.
Sit back, eat some popcorn, and enjoy the show.
That's what we do. 100%. We find a couple guys, or we rely on the fact that they went to Tennessee or USC or something like that. So we're like, oh, they have to be good if they went there. But like, I don't know, Devontae Adams went to Fresno State. I mean, like, that's not really anything I would have been hyped about necessarily. And
I remember I remember when they picked him. I'm like, absolutely. I don't care. Fresno State.
The thing with Jaden Reed that I think is going to be the most exciting and the most profitable here for us is that electric speed, right? Electric initial immediate speed, not 2 steps in, not 1 step in. We're talking a quarter of a step into that route. He's already flying down the field. So I think that speed is something that, like Matt was talking about, we've never seen on this team. I know we've gotten guys like Amari Rogers. He's a little bit more of a bowling ball type kind of guy, but we've never had kind of this electric, I'm not going to say Tyreek Hill because that's not real speed. Nobody else has that, but it's kind of has that feel of like he could be somebody that could just open up a game completely off of a screen or a slant or something very small. So I'm really excited about that. And then I'm also really excited about, his ability as a punt returner. I think that's going to be something that is going to be beneficial. I don't see him as a kick returner. We talked about this, but I don't see him as a kick returner with Nixon. Just the way he played last year was so dynamic back there. But I think he opens up a lot of interesting thoughts with this offense. Again, I'll keep coming back to, and we'll probably talk about it again, but there's a lot of very unique athletes that possess very unique abilities for this team. And I think we're going to see, this would be, and I compare a lot to San Fran because it's all in that same realm, but here's your Debo type Samuel kind of guy, not as big, right? You're not going to get handoffs to him, but you're going to get a guy that's electric with the ball and electric going to get the ball. So that's where I'm at with him.
I'm like Fred. I kind of had a similar reaction when they drafted him. I was glomming onto the names that we knew, and that's just the idiot of me. I don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm just like, well, hey, I know that name. But after reading up on him, I'm actually really excited about this guy, and I'm going to give you 2 reasons. Maybe, well, one of them you're going to know, and the other one maybe just be stupid. But his contested catch acumen is great, and I think that after watching a lot of body catchers and watching guys that wouldn't make attempts at balls or would just kind of try to let stuff fall to him, like I want somebody that's going to go attack it and going to pluck it out of the air and is going to challenge the DB and not make it easy on him. And I think that when you're coming up as a QB, you want guys that are going to go for the ball. Maybe Jordan Love is trying to hone in on his accuracy. He's not going to be Aaron Rodgers putting it between the 2 numbers. So you want somebody that's going to go snag it out of the air. And I think that they got a guy, by the way, the Packers say that they clocked him at a 4.37 40, so he's got some quickness to him. The second one, and this is my own personal judgment, but I think it does apply. I have a different level of respect for people who are athletes who play in the cold and perform well in the cold. I just think it takes another level of mental toughness and physical toughness to do. Absolutely. He played outdoors at Michigan State and produced at a high level. And after watching this team blow it in the playoffs offensively and look frozen and cold and like they were disinterested, I think you need some people who are going to come in here and go, I don't give a shit what the temperature is. I'm playing tough and I'm going for it. And he gives me those vibes. So I think that they need guys like that on the team. And for that reasons, I'm excited for him.
I think that's a really good point. I think that's a super good point to bring up. And that's going to be a lot with a lot of these guys, honestly. I mean, I know a lot of them didn't play in the cold necessarily, but I think you get that with youth, right? You get that with a little bit of a younger team,
sure.
Little less like, okay, I don't care, right? Like I'm old, right? I'm 36. So when it's cold, my bones hurt, right? I'm sure Aaron Rodgers' bones hurt. I'm sure Randall Cobb's bones hurt when they woke up and it was -20. These kids, right, are probably not, their bones hurt for obvious reasons. They get hit by a truck 30 times on a Sunday. But I do think that that's a really good point. And another thing, like I just want to quick touch on, we did talk about it with Luke Van Ness, but it applies to him as well.
Yes.
Is the level of competition that they had to go against, right? Being in Iowa, being in Michigan State, going in some really good counterparts. Lucas Van Ness dominated against the top 3 tackles that were taken in the first round. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just level Skronsky, like unbelievably. And I think Jaden Reed as well went against some really tough talent and performed really well, against Michigan, against Illinois, teams like that. So there is something to be said about the competition, the location, and then bringing that over to Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm excited to see obviously everything you guys had mentioned, but like on the special team side of things, can he be a return specialist? Can he be that punt returner that we've, had some glimpses, we've had some sparks here and there, but we haven't had that consistent guy. Maybe this is the guy. Maybe this is a guy that can come in there and just secure that spot. He's not expected to be the main guy on the offense, through the receiving end of it. Maybe he is. I don't know. Maybe they'll factor him in like a kind of a Debo guy. I don't know. But the fact being is he doesn't have to have that on his plate. So maybe he can be, a specialist where you can put him out there and maybe he can give you that spark, that good change of field position where that, can favor the offense and give Jordan Love less, yardage to work with, obviously, to, command the offense. Those are all factors. And maybe, I know, obviously, we kind of talked about it earlier before the show. Keyshawn Nixon, obviously, he's our kick returner. He brings a spark. But if maybe he doesn't have that same kind of burst or maybe doesn't have that spark, maybe he could do kick returning. Obviously, I think they're going to keep it at that at the same positions. But, he may play a little bit more defense because there wasn't a lot of help, at least on the corner side or the safety side. So maybe there's a possibility Keyshawn Nixon could see some more time on the defense. So that could, free up some, snaps in the return game. But you never know. We'll see what happens, over the summer. But it is good to see that some of these guys that they're drafting have special abilities that they can work on the other parts of the field. And from what it seems like, Rick Bisaccia, who's had a pretty big impact on this team and on this roster, it is good to see that maybe he gets one more toy to work with and see what he can muster, at least on that side of the ball. Okay, that wraps up the second round. That was 3 players, obviously pretty big picks because one of them happened to be from the Jets. Thank you very much, Jets. So that's pick 42.
Thanks,
and then
Jets.
Obviously the swap for pick 13. That's obviously Luke Van Ness. So we'll see where those we'll see if those two guys those will forever be the guys that get, compared to the Rodgers trade. Did they, pan out? I hate when that kind of stuff happens. But hey, it will though. Don't say it because it's obviously going to happen. They're going to always bring that up every time. These are the guys that got traded. Can we also just all as a fan base, right? I know there's not the entire fan base isn't watching, which is ridiculous. You guys should be. But can we also just be okay and understand the fact that Rodgers will ball out this year? He has clearly a chip. He's at OTAs, which everyone's like, oh, see how much he cares. Okay, it's a public, of course he's going to show up. It's a new team. He's got the New York media
part
now.
Yeah, he's got to play the part. He's got to do that.
Every camera.
But he's going to
embrace it.
He's going to play great. He's going to be fantastic. He's going to do all the things right.
He's going to go on McAfee every Wednesday, and you're going to be jealous, and you're going to think it back.
Oh, it's Wednesdays now?
It's good.
Or whenever it is,
Tuesdays. It's going to be, he's going to play really well. It's going to be that. We're not going to be as good.
I'm not trying to compare it to the Rodgers thing, though. You're taking this a whole different way. No one cares about Rodgers anymore.
I'm just telling you in general, let's not jump off the bus, in the sense of, oh, we're going to be terrible forever. Rodgers is going to be great forever. It's not going to happen. He's going to play a couple years. All it takes, right, is one failure, if you will. I say failure now, and all I can hear is Giannis being not a failure. Right. But all it's going to take is one couple bad losses, and he's going to realize so quickly how unthreatening our 9 media people were in Green Bay versus the 40 million assholes that are in the Jets organization that are going to just pound him. And you can't hide. We let him hide in Green Bay. We allowed him to take the back door, to do whatever he wanted. That is not going to fly in New York.
Go to Chives, not asking for an autograph.
Yeah, he is not going to. He's going to realize real quick, oh man, maybe small town Green Bay ain't so bad.
The grass isn't always greener, even though you're wearing a green jersey.
So sorry, I just wanted a quick touch on
You're
that.
right. Yeah. I mean, he will. That schedule, we talked about it. That schedule is absolutely terrible for the Jets. I am not going to be surprised. And I think you all mentioned it, that they may not win more than 10 games. So
I mean, there's a very good chance that they could go like 2-5 immediately out of the gate. Like the first two games are definitely winnable, and then they go against like 5 playoff contending teams. Not to mention he has to play the Bills twice a year, the Dolphins, who are a good team, twice a year, and Patriots, who Belichick's not going to like take it easy on them. So sorry, no more Lions, Vikings, and Bears, buddy. Like it's going to be a tough haul. Anyway, go to the third round.
Someone wants to know what the back door is.
Oh, he knows what the back door is.
All right, let's move on to the third round. So now we're starting to get into the meat of the draft. I think everybody understands that, a lot of these picks that you keep accumulating, obviously from the trade down, that these picks are obviously what really beefs up the roster, right? These picks are what you see, what you have in the practice squad, scout team, whatever it is, and even obviously as depth for your roster. And you never know. Some of the guys kind of like, finagle themselves up to being starters and then sometimes even be stars, like Donald Driver in the 7th round. So 3 through 7, I think this is Fred's one of his favorite days, actually, is day 3. And, to see some of the guys kind of come out of the, the weeds and really, shine is, basically what I want to go with here, is awesome. And I really hope that, and the fact being, hang on, did either of you guys have your guy as these 3 picks? Are any of the last 3 guys that we just talked about your guy?
No.
All right.
But coming up is one of them.
I like it. All right. So round 3, Tucker Kraft, boys and girls, 3rd round, 78th overall pick out of South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits. We see another tight end kind of get selected. Obviously, another weapon for Jordan Love, a cog in the machine that can help potentially with how big his body is. A little bit slower than probably Luke Musgrave, but still nonetheless big body, can get in the middle of the field, has great hands. Believe this one. I'll throw this one at Matt. Matt, let's see what you want about Mr. Tucker Kraft here.
I got a vibe about Mr. Kraft. I feel like
that guy vibe?
I feel like he's got that guy vibe. I can't tell you why, but part of it definitely has to do with when he took the call for the Packers. Like he was in what looked like someone's like machine shed,
like the warehouse,
like the place you would go partying in high school. Like some kid's dad had a machine shop and everybody went out because they had a keg there, and then that's what it looked like and felt like. Right. I'm like, this guy's gonna definitely fit well in here. And I'm pretty sure he called somebody ma'am because in there, sir, or vice versa. He said a couple of drinks. I'm like, okay, I feel like we got ourselves a Wisconsinite here, or at least one that's a transplant coming over. But in terms of his football prowess, he's an 6'5" bigger dude, not as fast maybe as Musgrave, but it feels like maybe he's a little bit more balanced. Maybe somebody you can use in line a little bit if you needed to, or split out wide, a little bit more versatile. Whereas I think that Musgrave's probably like a true like vertical threat. So but I don't know, man. I got a vibe here, and I said it earlier when we were talking about Musgrave. Like, I'm really fascinated to watch these two in particular come up in the offense. I feel like for the first time they have some real versatility at tight end, assuming that these talents pan out, and that Matt LaFleur can really get creative with it. And I feel like I'm waiting for Jordan Love to have his tight end BFF. Like Rodgers never had one. Maybe a little bit of Finley, but he went down with the injury early on, and really since then he kind of went through tight ends over and over. I want the Mahomes and Kelsey and Brady and Gronk, like they all had their guy. I want Love to have a Kraft or a Musgrave.
People were comparing this Kraft and this Musgrave to Hernandez and Gronk. Maybe less murder.
Yeah, less murders.
Yeah. But potentially, you never know. You get these two tight ends kind of drafted together. You never know. Fred, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about the actual football side of it because I think you nailed it. But I agree, man. I think he's totally got that like Kelsey vibe to him, right? And I'm not going to say Kelsey on the field, but that Kelsey like, I'm going to slam 2 beers together.
Yeah.
In 3 years, he's going to have a mullet. In 4 years, you're going to see him, jumping off at like bus onto a table type kind of guy. Like he kind of has that like that crazy college friend who just happens to be a really good athlete and like somehow like you can get wasted and then go put up 200 yards
it
receiving.
Feels like he'll embrace Green Bay and be like a great,
and Green Bay will embrace him.
Make
right?
him sound like he's Dennis Rodman. He's gonna go away.
Well, no, not Dennis Rodman. I think very like Kelsey, like right, like Kelsey's like slamming beers and throwing Super Bowl trophies. Like it feels a little bit in that regard. But I also will say that I think that it will be a very good, healthy competition between Musgrave and Kraft. Right? I think they will feed off each other and they'll be kind of like no, I'm gonna get better, I want to do better, I'm gonna get better, like,
kind of like Jones and Jamal Williams kind of were when they
so I think that will be a huge thing, so I'm kind of excited to see how that turns out.
All right, let's move right along here because we got still a lot of players and we got less time.
Yes, 13.
Yeah, right. So let's get into the 5th round here. Anthony Johnson Jr. I'm going to start with because that was our one right there, right? I just want to make sure.
You're looking at Colby Wooden.
Yeah, you're at Colby next.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about Colby Wooden. My bad. So Colby Wooden at 116th overall out of Auburn. The interesting thing about these DNs that we drafted, they're quick. They're quick off the line, and something I saw in his tape that I kind of liked was, not as big as some of the guys that we've seen the Packers take on the line, but he got after the quarterback kind of quickly, and I kind of was kind of shocked, honestly, because I've been so used to like a Dean Lowry kind of size or a Jaron Reed, Montravius Adams, kind of those guys, that it's interesting to see a little bit more speed on, and maybe that's what they want to do. Maybe they're just trying to get a little bit faster overall on the defensive line or even in the front 7. But Fred, how about you? What's your thoughts at least on Colby Wooden?
No, I think he's Colby Cheese. I think it's a great pick. I think he's got a lot of upside. I think a lot of people have talked about that. I think he's super fast. I think the one knock was like his maybe short arms or something like that. That's a
trend. People keep saying,
but it's such a I think that's like it's like when they wanted to compare everyone's motor to JJ Watt. So, I'm pretty much just defer that to Matt because then we can keep moving. But I think I think he's going to be a stud.
Dude's played a lot of football, 3-year start at Auburn. And if you start for 3 years at any SEC school, you've seen a lot of shit. So I feel like, 100%. That's a guy you want to have on your team. He's a little bit undersized. I think he's under 280, but I think that maybe makes him versatile. You could, have been down, from a down technique, or maybe move him over the center or on the edge. So I just feel like another versatile athlete the Packers can use. So I won't opine too much on that.
All right, well, real quick, I don't know if I really want to get too much into this, but Sean Clifford, 5th round.
No, I'll talk about Sean Clifford because I want to talk about Sean Clifford. So I 100. Yeah, sorry. I 100% love the Sean Clifford pick, and I think that I feel like I was the only person in the world who loved it at the time. But here's my thing about. Okay, that's fine. Here's my thing about Sean Clifford. I'm talking about a 4-year starter at Penn State, right?
Yeah, he's like 32.
Legitimate school. You're talking about a guy who beat out Will Levis. You're talking about a 4-year captain. You're talking about an absolute leader. You're talking about a quarterback room locker culture guy, right? This was not necessarily picked to replace Love. You don't pick somebody to replace Love. Love is starting his first freaking game this year. What you're doing is you're picking a guy who can come in, be a culture, a leader, a guy that can be in that quarterback room with Jordan Love to help learn, to help break down film, to help do things with. And he's an absolute master of that. Yeah, we could go draft some guy that we think is going to be really good and we could be really awesome. And you're going to be like, yeah, we got Duggan or Dugan or whatever from TCU, but like that's not cool for him. Like he's going to sit on the bench. Clifford has no intention of necessarily playing. It is there to be a quarterback room and a culture guy. The best teams in the league have good quarterback rooms because it's important for that guy to have.
I'm sorry, if Jordan Love gets hurt, that leader guy, he's gonna have to throw some passes, and you think he's confident he can throw passes?
And you can't if you're not a 4-year starter on a Penn State Big Ten team. If you're not able to win a game,
just saying, Penn State's not good. So it's not like he was winning a lot of games. Like,
well, you're also going to put you're also then to say that you're going to put the ball in the hands of a guy who played for what?
Oh no, I'm not saying I know, but you're like rah leader guy. That's great. I love it. I love it in the locker room, love it in the QB room. But if in fact Jordan Love gets hurt, that's the next guy up. So
that you could say that for everybody. Well, then what if Rashawn Gary gets hurt again or Jair Alexander gets hurt again?
Don't give me the injuries happen thing. But I'm just saying, specifically
but that's
quarterback,
the truth, right?
That means a little bit more. Quarterback's a little bit different. That's a big position.
Maybe.
It is.
Personally, I think that they should
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Personally, I'm of the camp that they should sign a veteran quarterback. That's what I think. But
I will.
I understand why they picked him. I know they like to have a pet project at QB where they can kind of where they can bring someone along. I totally get it. And to Fred's credit, Gutekunst did cite like his football acumen, like his smarts and his like preparation and his habits.
I'm not
That's what stuck out to him. So, but then I'm like, okay, that's great that he knows how to do it. So does Jordan Love, and a veteran would be able
Can he
to
step up in the pocket and maybe throw 15 yards down the field? That's what I need to know. In the NFL,
they picked 13 guys. It's fine. I mostly had a problem with where he was taken, but it was probably because they had a running QB.
You don't draft a quarterback in the 5th round to ever throw a pass.
I know, but he may
always be on a bench.
I know, but he can't always carry a clipboard. Just saying.
Okay, but I don't think he's not literally only a clipboard guy. He can clearly.
That's what you're calling him. You're calling him as the rah-rah leader guy.
No, I'm not saying he's a rah-rah leader guy. I'm saying he's a good guy to have in your quarterback room and a good guy to back up because he will be there. Like he can help Jordan Love grow even as Jordan Love is a starter.
I see that. All I was trying to say is Hayden Hooker did the same thing, and I see a lot more potential. I'm not saying that we draft Hayden Hooker. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you put a guy that started 4 years for the next 7 years. Like you can have Clifford on.
I'm saying someone that still has a ceiling.
Be the next Doug Peterson.
What's the ceiling on?
He could sit for 20 years.
What's the ceiling on Clifford? That's what my question was.
Matt Flynn.
Okay.
That's
all right.
Great.
Yeah, Flynn to win. Flynn to freaking win. Right. I just want to make sure you're clear on that.
Dontavian Wicks.
Well, based on your magazine, sounds like we just got a steal of a player.
Second contract guy.
Is this your guy?
That's your guy?
Is this your guy?
100%.
Go ahead, start us off then. Just go.
I just think he's a stud. I think he's an absolute beast. I think he's got good size. I think he's going to be the perfect complement to this offense. I do think that we're going to be destined to see a little bit of a drop off, right, by our receivers. There's that sophomore slump. We all know about it. We've seen it across the league. I think that you'll see a little bit less of that maybe with Watson. I think Dubs is going to be a little bit of a struggle. And I think Wicks can kind of step in and be that number 2-3 guy alongside Reed and Watson. I think that's really what you're probably going to, I don't know if Dubs is going to fall out of the game. I'm just saying he's going to have to produce. He's going to have to play what we saw for that little bit of time before the injuries started happening. But I think Wicks is a playmaker, a go-getter, a go up and get the ball. Great route runner. He's got the opportunity to 100% come in and become the number 2, maybe number 1 even.
Wow. That's high praise.
It's bold.
I like it. Hey,
it's bold.
No, if it's your guy, go ahead. Shoot for the moon. It's like Josiah for you. But
yeah. Okay, wait, what? I don't love him that much.
All right. Hey, it was another receiver for Matt. It's filling up that wide receiver room, which is good because we only had 3 to begin with. So really good to see that. I'm happy. I do think it's going to be a fun little battle to see, where everybody's kind of like skill set will be. We kind of already have seen it with our top 2 guys and Samari as well. But I want to see where all of them kind of blend and see where, where the fit is and how they work in Matt LaFleur's system. It'll be nice. I will be interested to see if we do the whole, 5 receivers, 6 receivers. We'll see how many they keep this time around. It was a little different.
I think you got to keep 6. You got to keep 6. You got all these guys coming up. You got to keep 6.
There you go. Well, we'll find out.
And I think the other thing is that they're gonna push each other, right? You're like, they're all young dudes. You're all talking 1 to 2 year dudes. It's gonna be a battle.
There's Watson might be seen as the guy, but is there really a guy?
Oh, really though? Is he? I mean, I know that he had a good year. I know that there's obviously a ton of stuff. I like the guy.
Yeah, he might not be the guy. He might just be.
We don't know who's number 1. We don't know who's number 1.
Exactly.
Or number 2. I think 100% that out of this draft you will see for sure 2 starters, and I think it's going to end up being Wicks and Reed.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Wicks and Reed. Right, you're just throwing 2 rookies over the guys that have already played 17 games.
I'm saying Wicks, Reed, and Watson will be your 3 set.
Wow, you're just throwing Dobbs off like he's like.
I mean, listen. When he played, he played great. I thought his route running was great. Some of his catches were fantastic.
Got to bounce back.
I got to see the consistency.
All right, 6th round. We have a kicker and a defensive lineman, Carl Brooks, and Anders Carlson. Let's make sure we get that. Anders Carlson. Carl Brooks, another guy that I saw, same kind of like almost kind of like Colby, just really good get after
big dude.
it. Yeah,
Big dude. Isn't he a big dude?
Maybe
6'3", about 300 pounds, I think.
Yeah, he's a big dude for.
I would say like height wise, because like some of the guys that we've got.
No, I think he's an edge guy. I think he's like not edge. He's like a DN, but he's a pretty big dude for that position.
I liked him though.
Bowling
I
Green,
saw
team captain.
he was mauling guys and he was getting after the quarterback. His shifting ability was pretty nice too when quarterbacks were scrambling outside the pocket. So his ability to understand, that the play is going a different way. That was good adjustments by him. So I like.
I've heard from people that he was like, considering Bowling Green, right? That's not the greatest, but an absolute stud at Bowling Green. So there's
he stood out.
a lot of
sacks
upside
last
for
year.
that guy. Yeah. We're not going to talk about Anders because that's ridiculous.
That kicker, he's a great kicker. And watch his video, you can see. All right, 7th round.
Carrington Valentine III.
My guy.
That's your guy.
My guy. There's my
I do love him.
This guy is a dog. I think he has a nasty little, part of his game. He loves to get in people's face. He does have a little bit more aggressive kind of nature.
Him, Stokes, and Ja.
Him, Stokes, and Ja could be a really fun combination. I've been hearing that this is a big steal, honestly, too. I think he played at at Kentucky, obviously, but so he did get some of that SEC feel. Went up against some of the Jalen Hyatts and
impressive.
Yeah, I mean he looked really good.
Don't downplay that.
Levis in practice.
If you're going against SEC, bro, that's legit.
Some of the highlights that I was seeing, I was also kind of trying to see what down it was. And a lot of them were like 3rd down breakups or 3rd down, like just big time tackles that, that's something that we always are looking for. What are you going to do on the crucial downs? 1st and 2nd down, sure. But 3rd down, if you can make that big time pass deflection, interception, or, just make the, actually, even if you don't make the tackle, you still make him, readjust himself, on his run, or make sure that, you at least contain so that you get more help to help you. That's what I'm looking for. And that, I think he can have that. And I think that's going to be a fun DB room with Ja and obviously Stokes.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say on that is there's a lot of swagger in those three. And I think that is going to be so much fun to watch. Like they're hyped.
And they're all SEC guys. So
yeah, they're hyped between each other. Yeah. They're all hyped. They're all dogs. They're all like, I think that could be super fun. And if he ends up, being, I think he's great too. He was my guy before Wicks when I was initially thinking about it. But I think that those three could just be beasts.
Matthew, you have anything?
Here. I have nothing to add to that. That's all good.
I want to just give you a little tidbit here. Who beat out Kenneth Walker, Braylon Allen, Tyler Algier, Breece Hall, Brian Robinson Jr., Jalen Warren in 2021 as the #1 running back in the country?
Yeah, he's a beast.
Lou
Nichols, baby.
Lou Nichols III. That's who I'm talking about. And I do think it's something to say about it. I don't care what making that many rushing yards, you still are figuring out that you have some sort of vision and you're finding holes. I don't know. I know that is a very run heavy offense, but still that was great to see. And it's nice to know that he has that running ability.
That 2 years ago, technically now
2021.
Yeah. He leading the college in rushing, absolute monster, big knock, everyone was like, what are you doing? Not coming out. They thought it was crazy for him to go back. He goes back. He loses, I believe, 2 tackles who were drafted, I believe, in the top 3, 3 rounds potentially. So he definitely stacked the cards against himself on that one. But did we win the deck on that? Right. I mean, this guy would have been a potential 2nd round dude 2 years ago. And all of a sudden we sneak in and grab him all the way down at 235.
Yeah. And he seems like a load. He's not the fastest guy, but very powerful.
Yes.
And I don't know how you guys feel, but I don't think there's any guarantee that AJ Dillon sees a contract after this year. I think it's very plausible.
We may not even see with Aaron Jones. You don't know. I mean, I don't know what the contract gets bigger with Jones too. So way
to bring in a dude, like if you do see AJ Dillon, right? To bring in a dude and be like, yo, like that's cool.
Get your shit together,
County, but you ain't nothing here. Like get your stuff together, figure it out, put a little fire under his ass, and let him play the ball. Let him play.
He to be the mayor of the end zone and get scoring again.
Real quick,
Yeah,
Anthony Johnson Jr.
Love Anthony Johnson.
wearing Leroy Butler's jersey number. So
yeah, I'm surprised to see that.
Big shoes.
First
to
of
fill,
all,
but
why is it not retired?
I don't know.
feel like Hall of Fame
they had
guys
to
should
retire
be
that.
retired.
Yeah, if you're in the Hall of Fame, that automatically
Yeah.
Well, hey, you never know. You never know. So, big shoes. It looks like he's a playmaker, though. He has a knack for the ball. He can get after. He can, poke it out, get some, high rising, interceptions. So we'll see what happens at the safety room.
Matthew.
Obviously, go ahead.
No, I mean, I love the safety room. I also want to bring up, because we talked about it earlier, but Adrian Amos, right? We're still trying to obviously figure out maybe something there. Gutekunst brought that up today. I thought, a couple weeks ago, that was exactly what they were going to do. Let him play the market, kind of see where his situation was. I do think that they actually do end up still bringing him back. I don't think that obviously deal. Anthony Johnson's, but that makes 100% sense to bring him back. But I'm really curious, Matt, where are you going with now? You are getting down to the last 2 picks, and yet you have no double.
Well, I didn't know we were supposed to Sam when we did, but my pick's T Craft, baby. I'm
I thought he was saying that. That was
my guy.
Yeah,
I didn't really say it, but I kind of let on to because I went off on him.
I was like, dude, are you gonna go like Grant?
He's going
Anders.
Yeah, Anders. Okay, I know you were hyping T Craft, and I love T Craft too.
I mean, you could pick Grant DuBois if you want. I mean, the guy, he's got a little freakish little body here. So, Charlotte wide receiver. We'll see. I think he's got some big play abilities. He clearly went to a very small school. So that's my only knock on him is that, I don't know what the talent level was, for him comparably. So we'll see how he does in camp. I mean, when you have the measurables, though, when you have a body like that, he can get after it, as far as like, in the end zone, one-on-ones, make the big catch. Hopefully that he can translate into the NFL. We'll see. As a 7th round pick, you're just kind of hoping that maybe you catch some lightning out of, in a bottle. So we'll see how it goes, but that's all 7 rounds right there. 13
we did
players with a minute to spare.
13.
I mean, real quick, before we get out of here, thank you guys so much, obviously, for always checking in with us. You guys, real quick, yes or no, is Jordan Love on a 5th-year option, or are they going to let it ride?
Let it ride. They're gonna send him instead. I think they had to do it today. I thought this is deadline. Did they not do it?
I thought.
Is it
today?
No, I think it's tomorrow.
Okay,
tomorrow.
Maybe not.
Well,
either way, they're absolutely gonna give it about half the season and then figure out what they like. Not in the sense of if they want to keep him or not, but 5th-year option or not, because obviously that's to be over with. I think they're really gonna see here what they're gonna do, and I think they're gonna maybe let the play kind of dictate the contract, if you will.
But people can't freak out if they don't pick up his 5th-year option. It's not necessarily an indication of like, well, we think this guy's shit. They just traded Aaron Rodgers. They clearly think he's something, right?
Yeah, right.
Don't freak out.
They're giving him the keys.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody so much, obviously, for spending an hour with us. We will not be back for a little bit. You never know. Maybe we might come back with OTAs.
OTAs
because,
time.
It's a pretty big class, and maybe there's a lot of hype in the locker room with these rookies. Maybe we might do a little show for that. Otherwise, potentially the mandatories maybe come back, but otherwise we usually do take this time off, but we'll talk it over. We'll obviously let you know on our socials, where to follow us, on Twitter, on Instagram and Facebook through the Sweep Studios. Our handles are right here as well on Twitter. You can see them right below, but thank you so much. We will see you next time. As for Fred, Matt, and myself, go Pack.
Pack.
Go.